Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with Taylor, who has kindly agreed to discuss life with schizoaffective disorder. So, if we could just start with the first question. What do you most wish that people understood about schizoaffective disorder?
Uh, a lot of things. Uh, people are pretty judgmental when it comes to this disorder, I feel like. Especially when it comes to delusions or like how we act and whatnot. People usually often call us lazy or like violent people or that our delusions make it to where our opinions don't matter. And all those, but we're not always under psychosis, so our opinions do matter, and we're not always having these delusions. Uh, and we're not violent people. Most people with schizophrenia are often like the targets of violence than they are, violent themselves. And laziness. This is a debilitating disease or mental illness. And it does affect you. It often does come off as like lazy, but there's really not a lot we can do about it. Uh, and if we could, we would, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate the last thing you said about how, yeah, if people could make their lives easier, of course they would.
Mm.
And kind of following from that, would you be comfortable sharing a little bit more about your own experience? So, what are some traits or symptoms of schizoaffective that you experience? And then did these develop pretty gradually in your case, or did they come on quite suddenly?
Uh, for me, it actually came off like quite suddenly. Uh, I well, sort of gradually. I guess I'll say like it developed over a 4-year period. I would say. Uh, my first manic episode that I feel like I might have had kind of came when I moved from Virginia to Nebraska. So I uh, I just thought like I needed like a new chapter in my life or something like that, and I just needed to go away. And but it was all of a sudden I dropped out of college to do it, and there's also some delusions behind that. Like I need to get out, so I needed to get away from my roommates because I feel like they were going to be against me. Uh, so there's like things like that, other than just like wanting to escape. Uh, and so that was my first manic episode. I feel like that I can remember. Uh, and that was about 4 years ago. Uh, then I, uh, it was really blurry after that because I was an alcoholic. Uh, and I would drink, like I drank a lot at college, but I would drink a lot when I moved to Nebraska. I would steal liquor. I would do a lot of stuff like that. So a lot of that is blurry, but I do remember, uh, having these thoughts of like people out to get me and have to shelter myself from everyone else because I was just scared. Uh, and uh, then I started, taking shrooms and then smoking weed a lot during this time, which only caused my symptoms to get even worse. Uh, and that's when when I took shrooms. That's when I got like another manic episode, and I remember that one pretty vividly because I was like, "Oh, I'm right about everything, and everything I believe in or think of is right." Uh, but that kind of caused me to, feel like my best friend was out to get me. So I drove up to his house to confront him about it, and not like in a violent way, just to like talk to him about like why he was against me. And then he looked at me like I was you know going through something, and I definitely was. Uh, and Yeah, that's when I kind of knew that I needed to go find some help. So I did. I saw a psychiatrist, and they diagnosed me first with bipolar 2 until I until I uh, until I explained more what was happening, and they gave me an SS. Okay, I'm sorry, I need to back up here. Instead, I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety at first, and then they gave me an SSRI, and then through that SSRI, they found out that I was bipolar, but they diagnosed me with bipolar 2. And after that, uh, they uh, they diagnosed me with bipolar 1 after I had psychotic futures. Uh, During that episode, I thought that everybody were gods in their own way, uh, and so that kind of sparks the bipolar 1 diagnosis. And the way I got the schizoaffective bipolar disorder diagnosis is when I thought my coworkers were against me outside of mania, uh, and that makes sense. I mean, this whole thing has only happened in like the past, like especially getting treatment has only happened in like the past 2 years. So it's pretty rapid. So I would say the onset of it was pretty rapid, but I mean this has been going on for like a fairly long time, I guess, like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your answer and for sharing some of the, I guess, um, delusions that you've experienced in this time, as well as the trajectory to your diagnosis. I was wondering, you mentioned that you were, I think if I remember correctly, first diagnosed as having depression and then bipolar and then finally schizoaffective. Were there any challenges that you experienced from having, I guess, a misdiagnosis or an incomplete diagnosis?
Uh, yeah, I mean, having the anxiety and depression, this diagnosis, made it to where they put me on SSRI, so that caused me to become manic, and that was pretty difficult for me. Uh, uh, this mania can destroy your life pretty much because it really does affect the people around you and like what you do, and uh, it can cause you to do really irrational like things. Uh, and I'm sorry.
No,
So
that's a great answer. Yeah, no, I
another
appreciate it.
thing that happens is I take a lot of medication, and I need to talk to my psychiatrist about it. But I have like some pretty bad memory issues. So if I pause or like I just like forget what I'm saying like halfway through it, it's just because not only do I have memory issues, I also have ADHD, and so it also that affects it. So I apologize if I just stop
Oh,
mid
no need to
sentence.
apologize at all. Yeah, I think your communication is great. Um, the next question is a little bit of a jump in topic, but in your experience, what has been the most challenging part of having schizoaffective disorder?
Uh, just getting through every day. Honestly, it's really is a really debilitating disease, mental illness, uh, whatever you call it. It's it's terrible. It really is. I used to be. I mean, I'm not sure if you should put this on YouTube, but I was very suicidal for a really long time, and I it's it's so difficult. Uh, I still have problems with alcohol today. Just to cope with everything. Uh, and yeah, there's really not much more to say. Just getting through every day is pretty terrible. Uh, but thankfully, like a lot of my like visual hallucinations and auditory hallucinations are kind of gone now. Uh, the medicine really does help, even though it does have some drawbacks, like with memory issues and whatnot. It does help a whole lot more than it hurts. Uh, some delusions also are that I should stop taking medication because it harms me in some other way than just memory issues. But thankfully, those are just delusions I can get over. Uh, but it can be pretty bad if you stop taking your medicine. And it's because it just without medication is so bad. Like people who struggle with this disorder who are not medicated, I really feel for them because it has to be really difficult, especially people who can't afford to get medicine or just just for some reason not able to get medication. That's a tragedy right there, and I wish them the best of luck because again, I mean, this is pretty terrible, uh, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you've been able to access medication and that it sounds like it's helping with some things, but I'm sorry that you're still experiencing so many challenges. Um, the next question is kind of the flip side, but it's, do you feel like having schizoaffective has led to any positives or sort of increased empathy for other people?
Uh, yeah, yeah, I would say so. Increase empathy. Like I mean, I didn't know like what someone with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder were going through until I got this disorder, and I have to say, like, you go through a lot. I didn't always have schizoaffective disorder, so I didn't really know what it was like to have schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder, and it's yeah, I just have a lot more empathy for those people, especially anybody with a mental disorder. I just have a lot of empathy. I feel like I didn't have as much empathy towards people with mental illness as I do now.
Thank you so much. And I think you discussed a little bit about your experience with, I guess, with accessing diagnosis and medication, but is there anything else that you'd like to share about your experience with the mental health care system? And kind of as a tangentially related question, are there any changes that you would like to see in how mental health is approached for people with schizoaffective or resources that you wish existed?
Uh, I feel like I've actually had like a pretty positive experience with because they caught it so early, and it really did help with that. They said that like if the symptoms went on for longer, then I probably would have been in a lot more trouble. I probably would have been hospitalized because I never gotten hospitalized, which is pretty rare for someone with this disorder. I feel like, uh, and yeah, sorry, what was it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. They always need to add more resources. They always need to like come up with something that would help more with schizoaffective. But I think right now the resources that I'm having right now are pretty nice, and I think I don't know. I just had like a positive, like a more positive experience I think most people have with the mental health care system. I just feel like that there's a lot of people that see online because I'm on the schizoaffective subreddit, and a lot of people on there talk about like how they had really bad experiences with the mental health system, and I feel like I've just been really lucky with the fact that I've had a positive experience.
I'm really glad that you've had a relatively positive experience as well. I know in some of our previous conversations, we talked about how you enjoy music and hiking and fishing. Would you be willing to talk about this a little bit and how these have been therapeutic for you?
Yeah, hiking and fishing, they're really relaxing, and then they kind of make you stop thinking so much about everything. Uh, and music is just like having like some sort of passion and some sort of like hobby really helps with your mental health. And yeah, uh, but there's other stuff that also helps with mental health, is, of course. Actually, I do believe because I used to be like an atheist for like a lot of my life, but like believing in like a higher power, I feel like is also a good way to like help with your mental health. That it doesn't have to be like God or anything like that. Just like anything, I feel like helps. Even though it's something like ridiculous, it's like something that like kind of you know because it could literally just be anything, like it isn't believing in nothing just doesn't help. even just believing in yourself is pretty good. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here. I think I'm just trying to say like uh, some stuff that I feel like kind of works out for me. That helps my mental health, and I think that's one of the things that kind of helped me was uh, you know listening listening and making music, uh, believing in a higher power, even though it doesn't have to be God or anything like that. I'm not telling you to like you need to believe in something. It's just something that's helped me, and also just loving yourself, and that's really difficult with this mental disorder is loving yourself. Uh, so, uh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that answer a lot. And music is such a powerful thing. I love music
Mm.
personally as well. And so kind of I guess building on that from sort of advice for people with as are schizoaffective, is there also advice that you would give to friends or family members who have a loved one with schizoaffective disorder, for I guess how they could support the person or anything else that you'd like to share?
Uh, yeah, yeah. Just have patience with them. It's even going to be pretty rough for you, especially seeing like a family member going through those stuff. It it really is rough. Uh, but you just gotta calmly, just be calm with them and like try to be understanding. Uh, because it might be rough for you, but it's even rougher for them. Uh, and anything else to add? Uh, I have to say this. I know a lot of people like uh, they love to talk about like how smoking weed is good for you and like all that stuff, but like I feel like it's also kind of it can be pretty bad for someone with our mental health issues. Same with like taking shrooms and stuff like that. Uh, so I just feel like people should kind of get that out of the way. Like smoking weed is fun. I love smoking weed. Sometimes it also makes me really really paranoid and all that. But I mean, I, when it was good, it was good. Uh, but I feel like it ramped up my mental disorder more than what it should have been. I guess it made me have it come up like quicker. I feel like because I didn't really show any signs of this mental disorder until I started smoking weed, uh, and taking shrooms and all that. So just be careful with that, for sure. It's not good with someone with this mental health disorder. So
I think that's a really good point. If someone's sort of predisposed to psychosis or condition that involves psychosis, I imagine that certain things can be a trigger for the onset of that. And it's good for people to be aware of that possibility. Um, is there anything else, I guess, in general or related to schizoaffective disorder that you'd like to add that I've forgotten to ask about?
uh, I guess uh, not not really. I feel like that's a good point to end on. Uh, I guess I've had like pretty bad psychosis off of weed, which is also like a lot of things that I want to say. Psychosis, it's not fun. It's fucking. I mean, it's terrible. It's it also causes trauma sometimes, because of how like awful it is, and like I'm always scared of having psychosis being brought up again. Constantly worried about it, uh, and so that's why I can't smoke weed anymore or anything like that because it would maybe give me psychosis, and because I already have to worry about psychosis already with my disorder, and I don't want to have it come up with just drugs because I feel like that can be bad. I don't mean to harp on this all much. Like I don't want to like if you smoke weed, then good for you. Especially if it doesn't do any like harm to you, and you feel like it doesn't do any harm for you. But at least for me, and I feel like a lot of people on the subreddit that I visit, they say that like it's not good for you, and I I do believe that. If you ask any mental health care worker if it's good for you, they will always say no. Like that's pretty much the entire opinion of the mental health care system. Uh, so yeah, I I don't know. It's just it's just something that like might be controversial, and I just want to kind of be like, it really is just uh not good for you. I feel like yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences, and I personally find your answers to be really insightful. And yeah, just want to thank you again for the opportunity to interview you.